back to my channel. My name is Nico, and in today's video we are going to be talking about how I traveled to England 2 times, Italy, Thailand, and Los Angeles during my preclinical years of medical school. A lot of people ask me when they look through my Instagram, do you really study medicine? How do you travel so much? Where do you make the time for it? And I'm going to try to answer your questions in this video. And the purpose of this video really is to hopefully motivate you guys to travel, even if you are in a career such as medicine where you don't have as much time. The point of this video really is to show you guys that traveling is cheaper than what you probably think it is. It's probably more accessible than what you're thinking it is, and it can definitely be done if you follow the tips that I'm going to be talking about in this video. One of my biggest fears when starting medical school was that my traveling days were over, and the truth is that you are going to be more limited once you start school, but there will be opportunities for travel and it can be done. So with that being said, let's get straight on into the tips. If you are still watching this video, however, please like this video and drop a comment where you are trying to travel once this corona situation is over, because you already know once quarantine is over, I'm going to need a flight. So the first thing you want to do is find your motivation to travel. This is going to make the next step so much easier. For me, my motivation to travel is to discover. I truly feel that the world is full of things to learn, people to meet, cultures to explore, and the only way I feel like I can truly do that and get the most out of it is by experiencing them firsthand. So for me, I travel, to discover and explore, but that may be different for you. Traveling can also be a part of language learning. It can be a part of an escape from reality. So finding out why you want to travel and why it's important to you will make the next steps a lot easier. The second thing you want to do is find out when are you going to be traveling. And as a student, this can be a lot harder because you only can travel when school allows you to, right? So what you want to do is look at all the breaks that you have and the potential travel dates and look at them way ahead. So the first thing I do when I get my academic calendar is I look, when am I going to be able to travel? And don't just stick to, Thanksgiving break, Christmas break. Look for long weekends as well. A 4-day weekend to a different city can be worth it. Be flexible and creative with the days that you decide to travel. Remember, as a student, quality over quantity. For me, it has always been about the trip itself and the quality of the trip versus the quantity and how many days I'm abroad. With that being said, because you are so, limited on the days that you can fly, prices can be difficult to find because on Thanksgiving break, prices go up. Christmas break, prices go up. So in order to get cheap flights, I recommend using Google Flights. Google Flights is the best because you can put in your departing city and then look at a map and just go to wherever is cheapest. As corny as it sounds, I really recommend you guys to have Wanderlust, which is just the desire to travel or a strong desire to travel. I don't really care where I go, as long as I'm traveling, I'm happy. So look on Google Maps and look where it's cheap. You might actually find a country or a city that you never considered going to, but you end up going just because the flight is cheap. Another tip about purchasing flights, don't get any flights with connections unless the price difference is immense, like enormous. And my other tip that I have is if you're trying to go to a country in Europe, for example, if you're trying to go to, let's say, Rome, New York to Rome sometimes is very expensive, but New York to Spain is really cheap for some reason. So if you go from New York to Madrid and then you get a cheap ticket from Spain to Italy, you can save a lot of money that way too. And talking about money, we are going to be moving on to the third tip, which is how do I make money? How do I save money? And what do I do in order to fund these travels? I am as broke as ever right now, like way worse than undergrad, because at least in undergrad I had a part-time job. Working at medical school is not easy, but what I recommend you guys doing, if you can, this is not always the case for everyone. The way my scheduling worked out in med school was that I had an exam every 8 weeks. But I recommend you guys to find a tutoring job, tutor a high school student studying, for an AP test. You can charge between $50 and $70 an hour, which sounds crazy, but if you're just working 1 day a week, $50 a week is $200 a month, and that really does add up. So if you do, a small side hustle, not close to your exam dates, school does have to be your priority. Also, 2 to 3 months before my flight, I do a major cutback. I look at all my credit cards. I look at, I really analyze what I'm spending money on, and I cut back. I stop going to Starbucks. I stop, buying things at the vending machine. Any small expenses, I cut them out 2 to 3 months before my trip, and that helps me save as well. And we are in 2020. If you are still using a debit card, this gotta go. You have to get a credit card with good cashback or at least points for flights. I do recommend cashback though, and I always use my cards no matter what. If I go out with friends, I pay everyone's, I pay everyone's bill, and then everyone just Venmos me, and having that cashback really does add up over time. When you decide to go abroad, the next tip I want to talk about is your accommodation. What kind of trip are you trying to do? So the way I have always been able to travel so cheaply is because I've always done solo travel. And by being a solo traveler or a backpacker, I was really able to save so much money. And you travel, like a minimalist. I just bring a backpack, I put the essentials in the bag, and I go abroad. And it's not luxurious. I'm not staying in 5-star hotels. I'm usually staying in a hostel or a very cheap hotel. But I think there's a really big misconceptions about hostels in the US, especially because all the hostels I've been in, especially in Asia, Southeast Asia, they're actually nicer than the hotels that I've been staying at and way cheaper. So going abroad, don't be afraid to look at a hostel or an Airbnb. I've had better experiences in hostels and Airbnbs versus in a hotel. Also, there are so many apps to help you meet people, meet locals, and do things for free, pretty much. Couchsurfing is an amazing app to meet other solo travelers, so you can go to a different country by yourself and you can just see a list of people who are also traveling by themselves in that country. You can meet up, you can go around, you can even meet locals who are in the country who just want to show you around because they're just so happy that someone came to visit their city. And I think there's a really weird, people think that there's something sketchy about it, and I'm sure people have had bad experiences. But if you're smart about it, I have met so many amazing people who have showed me their city, who have taken me to rooftops. So consider doing a solo trip. You'll probably save a lot of money and you can actually have amazing experiences abroad. But again, this always goes back to your motivation for traveling. My motivation has always been to meet people, to open my mind to new cultures, and I think the best way to do that is with natives. And finally, I want to talk about being a medical student while traveling. School is always my priority. It's my top priority over traveling, of course, but I do believe in having a balance. So when I went to Los Angeles, I studied every day in a coffee shop every morning from 8 to 12, and I would just do, go through my Anki decks. I would make sure that my Anki decks are completely loaded before going abroad. That way, every morning I can just wake up, go through my reviews, and then enjoy the day. Having a balance is going to be super important for you. I've always just figured if I'm going to study at home for 4 hours, I'd rather study for 4 hours in a coffee shop in Miami or in Los Angeles and then enjoy the rest of my day. But that again comes down to preference, and is that something that you want to do? But these are all the things that I've implemented in order to travel so much in medical school. Now that I'm in clinical years, it has not been possible. It's a lot different because you're working a lot more. But if you have any questions, make sure to drop them down below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Bye.